So the economy is taking a nosedive, and everyone's starting to freak out. But what if that's exactly the wrong thing to do? We're about to dive deep into Warren Buffett's playbook, not just for surviving a recession, but for using it to actually build a fortune. This is your guide to turning that widespread fear into your personal gain. And let's be real, when a recession hits, it feels terrifying. I mean, the headlines are all doom and gloom. You might see people you know losing their jobs. And your first instinct, your gut reaction, is to just pull back, protect everything you have, and hope you can ride it out. But here's the big idea, the total reframe at the heart of how Buffett thinks. What if this moment of maximum panic is actually the moment of maximum opportunity? Seriously, what if a recession isn't something you should be hiding from, but a once-in-a-generation chance to get way ahead? This right here, this single quote, explains pretty much everything. It is the entire strategy in one sentence. It's all about doing the opposite of what the crowd is doing. When everyone else is freaking out and selling everything, that's your cue to lean in and start looking for bargains. Okay, so the very first thing we have to do, it has nothing to do with numbers or stock charts. It's all about a complete and total shift in your mindset. We've got to learn to see a downturn the way Buffett does. And this really lays it all out. On one side, you've got the crowd, right? They're driven by pure emotion, fear, panic, and they're all rushing for the exits at the same time. But on the other side, you have the Buffett mindset. It sees a recession as, well, just a normal, predictable part of the economic cycle. It's like the seasons changing. It's not a reason to panic, it's the reason to get your shopping list out. And this is just a brilliant way to think about it. Imagine your absolute favorite store suddenly put a 50% off everything sign in the window. You wouldn't run away screaming, would you? No, you'd run in and load up. Buffett sees the stock market in exactly the same way. A recession puts the best companies in the world on a massive discount, and that's an opportunity you just don't want to miss. Right, so having a great mindset is, well, it's great, but it's pretty much useless if you haven't done the prep work. So let's get practical and talk about what you need to do before things get chaotic. The single most important tool in your entire kit is something called dry powder. It's just a cool, old-school term for cash. It's the money you've set aside specifically for this moment, ready to go when that big clearance sale starts. Because think about it, without cash on hand, you're just a window shopper. You can't actually buy anything, no matter how cheap it gets. Now, this is so important. You don't start trying to figure out what to buy when the world is on fire. You do your homework now, when things are calm. You build a watch list of amazing companies, the ones that have very little debt and some kind of killer advantage that competitors can't touch. That way, when the market is in a total freefall, you don't have to think. You just follow the plan you already made. And listen, this one rule is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. Never ever use borrowed money to invest. Don't use leverage. Why? Because investing is about growing your wealth slowly over time. But leverage can wipe you out completely in a single day. If the market tanks and you're forced to sell at the very bottom, it is game over. All right, you've done the prep, you've got your cash ready, you've got your list of companies. Now for the hardest part. And it is the hardest part, actually pulling the trigger when every single bone in your body is screaming at you to run for the hills. Let's just look at what happened in 2008. In October of that year, the entire global financial system was, and I'm not exaggerating, on the brink of complete collapse. Fear was everywhere. So what did Buffett do? He wrote an article for the New York Times basically telling everyone, hey, I'm buying. And he did. He poured billions into companies like Goldman Sachs. People thought he was insane, but he was just following his own playbook. And of course, Berkshire Hathaway ended up making billions from those moves. How could he do that with so much confidence? It's because he understands the huge difference between price and value. See, the price is just what the market is yelling every day, driven by fear and greed. The value is what a business is actually worth, based on its real long-term fundamentals. A recession creates this massive temporary gap between price and value, and that gap, my friends, is where the opportunity is. And here's the best part. You don't have to be some kind of genius who can perfectly predict the exact bottom of the market. Nobody can do that. The strategy is way simpler. You just start buying when things look really bad and prices are obviously cheap. If they get even cheaper, great, you buy some more. And if they fall again, you buy even more. The goal is not to be perfect, it's to be disciplined. So we've talked about the prep and we've talked about the execution, but honestly, none of that stuff works if you don't have the right long-term philosophy. This is the psychological foundation that makes the whole thing possible. This was Buffett's favorite quote from his mentor, Benjamin Graham, and it's just brilliant. Think about it. In the short run, the market is just a popularity contest, a voting machine. It's all about emotion. But over the long haul, what really matters is the actual substance of a business, its earnings, its assets. That's the weighing machine. Your job is to completely ignore the day-to-day voting and focus only on the long-term weight. Here's another fantastic way to think about it. If you owned a really great farm, would you panic and sell it for a huge loss just because of one bad year of drought? Of course not. You know the drought is temporary and that the farm's real value comes from the crops it's going to produce for decades. You have to think about stocks the exact same way. You're not buying a ticker symbol, you're buying a piece of a real business that you plan to own for a long, long time. So here's the bottom line. Another recession, another huge market-wide clearance sale, it's not a question of if it will happen, but when. It's a totally predictable part of the cycle. And now that you know the playbook, the only real question left is, will you be ready? Will you have your mindset right, your cash ready, and your shopping list prepared to act?